I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the annual owner-member meeting of the governing board and our regular meeting as well. We'd like you to stand if you can and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we do have a quorum. We have Director Sloan absent, but remote. We have Ann Brown and Sharon Heddick, and then the rest of us are present. So that makes 8 of us. Okay, the first presentation is from our General Manager, Bill Schwind.
Thank you, Sue. I may have to hold this. Thank you all for coming today, taking some time out of your summer and joining us today. So we have a little bit of an annual member meeting that we do, and hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight into our association and how we're sitting currently. So welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the demographics that make us what we are. And so the big chunk of the pie are our active owner members. And you can see that the other divisions within our system deal with associate members, landlords, investors, and multi-use property owners, as well as tenants. So 85% of the folks living here are actual active owner members. As far as rental units go, tenants make up less than 2% of the population of rooftops in Sun City West. And investors a little bit over 3%, and the associate members a little over 4%. So that's kind of the story of who we are under our rooftops. 17,791 rooftops. We picked up 50 this year behind Goodwill with the K. Hovadian homes coming in. That's been a nice little advantage to us. But the folks that have come in recently, over the last month, the average age of the new Sun City West resident, 74 years old. Over the last year, the new folks coming into town average 73 years old, and overall, under all of our rooftops, we're looking at an average age of 75 years old of our residents. Help me, Michael. Thank you. Broken down, the big peak, 75 to 84 years old, makes up over 10,000 of our residents. A little close to 10,000, 9,000 make up the 65 to 74 age group, and it's broken on beyond there. Over 95 years of age, we have 462 people living here. And believe it or not, 39 people under the age of 34. It's illegal to live here if you're under 18. These folks are fine as associate members. Male, female. Females win. What else is new? Yeah, right. Okay, but that's who we are. So there's the numbers kind of broken down again into the member IDs and that kind of thing. But one thing, we talk a little bit about trends. And of the 1,001 investors that we have here, 184 are LLCs. And this is relatively new to us as far as what we're seeing, as far as people buying properties here as investment pieces. They're not coming in as second homes per se for individual people, but they're coming in as LLCs, which is somewhat of a trend, somewhat interesting. So when it comes to tenants and guests, I was a little bit taken back by this, but I guess not really. R.H. Johnson is a wonderful facility. But by and large, when it comes to tenants and guests using our facilities, that's where they're going. Palm Ridge sees a little bit of a bump, as does Beardsley, but the numbers speak for themselves. But when it comes to tenants and guests, and you look at all the visits that we've got, it's over 100,000 people coming into our facilities using our amenities and that type of thing. That's quite sizable. So when tenants come in and they pick up a tenant card, we raise over $304,000 this year on rental properties and people wanting to use our facilities. So when a tenant comes in, the owner's cards are turned off, the tenant's cards are turned on. So they use the facilities during the time that they're here, and then when they leave, the owner's cards get turned back on and off they go. And as far as recreation center guest fees go, people just bringing in non-tenants, you want to bring a friend or family member in, we generate over $250,000 annually in that program as well. So let's talk a little bit about management and how we deal with the association. Our key focus areas this year were post-COVID activity levels. As far as our recreational services go, we're kind of crawling out of the COVID thing. It's not gone, obviously. We still know that that's around and affects people. But the activity levels have risen. Chartered club tax classifications was a big issue over the year. We're trying to get that organized, and I think we've done a terrific job there. Hats off to Casey and Donna Maloney for working diligently this year on all the revisions to the RRMPs that have taken place, bringing that back to a more manageable and readable document on how we deal with the rules, regulations, and procedures dealing with mostly clubs. But the chartered club thing, as far as the IRS goes, that has been cleared up, and I think we've got people where they need to be, and clubs that are still looking to do other things, we continue to work with them accordingly. The implementation of the club tracking software has been implemented, so we're now seeing pretty good numbers when it comes to tracking club use. It helps us with managing efficiency, who's in what room. Are they in too large of a room, too small of a room? We can help move people around as needed based on how many people are actually using the facilities and when. And then staffing, again, is a key focus area. I mean, you see it all the time. There's help wanted signs, I think, all over North America. But we are too experiencing labor shortage and kind of dealing with that as we try to keep facilities open as best we can. Obviously, we're open 15 hours a day. Most of our, if not half of our staff, are owner members, and we rely on owner members to help us out, mostly in the part-time realm, and covering office time and facility openness time and monitoring and those types of things. But staffing is a concern for us moving forward. When it comes to staffing shortages, Todd Patty's in the room. He oversees all of our landscaping crews for all of our facilities as well as our 7 golf courses. And he and his team have done a marvelous job keeping the facilities looking as nice as they do with the lack of employees that he's currently had. What he has had in the past, landscape workers down 15, greenskeepers down 20. That is sizable. Trying to keep our facilities looking as nice as they are and as you expect them to be as owner members here. I think the staff and his divisions of labor, as in all of our divisions of labor, have done a tremendous job this year dealing with what everybody in the country is dealing with, and that is labor shortages. Facility assistants, we're down 13. That is, again, with a 15-hour day that we have, trying to keep recreation centers open, bowling centers open 7 days a week is a challenge. It is a challenge with not enough people going around. So we appreciate, your concerns. We hear you, but we are doing everything we can to kind of fill those positions and make sure that you get what you want. But it is a challenge. So what's the future look like? Unfortunately, they didn't provide a crystal ball when I took the job. But the job market obviously is there. Employee retention is very, very important to us, as is the recruitment methods that we've got going on. Word of mouth recruitment is a new program where we picked up, anybody working with us that knows anybody. Word of mouth is a great recruitment tool. Please help. The white flag has been raised. Anyway, if you know anyone, please send them our way because that would really, really help. Supply chain issues we deal with when it comes to providing all of the amenities that we knew, from floor cleaning material to how we clean restrooms to providing paper and construction supplies. We're dealing with that on a daily basis as well. Talked about labor shortage. And then water conservation probably is the number one scenario that we kind of pay attention to, at least in the state of Arizona, when the governor can make changes and the Arizona Department of Water Resources doing what they're doing. The rules and regulations on water use will change in 2023 and again in 2025. We're very cognizant of that, and we are taking the appropriate steps now to make sure we're in compliance in using the water we are allowed to use and putting it where we need to put it in a very efficient manner. And then we also had a master plan update that we were working on and continue to work on this year to kind of see where we're going to be in 5 to 10 years, kind of getting a feel for what the owner members are looking for and feeling that they would like to see as far as improvements go. Michael? Thank you. So again, water regulations and mandates are legal documents that come out of the state of Arizona that we have to abide by. Information technology advancements are something that we're always after. I mean, we can certainly work smarter, not harder, and this allows us the ability to do so. And so making it easier for you to pay your annual dues or come in and pay for concerts that you want to go to or activities and whatnot, any of those types of advancements that we can make in our technology world oftentimes, save money, and they also are a little bit more efficient for you all to use as well. We talked about the efficiency of space utilization through additional software, kind of helping us count heads and people who are participating in programs. Pickleball, again, the #1 sport in America, continuing to grow and grow and continuing to grow. I can't hear that enough. And then the issue of casual dining has come up as far as the master plan update, and we are looking into potential options there as well. So once we accumulate a lot of our information, we put together what's known as a 5-year plan. So this will probably take place this fiscal year, compiling a lot of data and information that we've got, and then looking together and working collectively with all of our committees and the governing board, we tend to be able to put together a document that'll give us a little bit of guideline over the next 5 years as to what we're doing and what we're planning. So the governing board and myself, we utilize these committees. They are wonderful, wonderful opportunities, and if you've never had an opportunity to go to one of their meetings, you should. These are sounding boards. These are people made up of owner members who oversee budget and finance. They oversee the golf course operation, as well as properties, the chartered club groups, and the sports pavilion. These are the folks that we rely on to tell us what's going on, what they're feeling, what they're seeing, and for us to then therefore make the appropriate procedures moving forward and providing those recreational opportunities that you have come to enjoy. When it comes to financial planning, here's where we are, right? We're in the middle of an inflation that people haven't seen in the last 40 years. Everything is costing more. You see it, I see it. We all go to the grocery store. We all pay for gasoline to put in our cars to get here, unless some of you have the electric cars, and thank you for that. But will it go to a recession? I don't know, but we shall see. But what we have known and what we have learned this year is the carry forward money that we put into our reserve funds was really driven by an increased amount of play when it comes to golf. I think we had close to over 50,000 rounds of golf, more than we anticipated. Same thing with bowling. The indoor concept there, Barry and his leagues and the open bowling was generating a lot more money and more lines being bowled at that facility than we anticipated. And in Casey's special events were very, very active with people coming out of the woodwork, so to speak, after COVID. And so those dollars that we gained were basically pushed into our reserve fund. That's good, but will that continue is the question mark. So those are discretionary funds that when you play golf, if you're playing golf 4 days a week, does the inflation and recession cause you to play 2 days a week or 3? That will affect us. So the discretionary income that we're dealing with is something that we're paying close attention to when it comes to how we plan and how we do our budgeting process. The Consumer Price Index as of May, when this program was put together, was sitting at 8.6%. They say in the service industry, which we are in, it's closer to 15%. That's not good, but that's what we are being faced with. I think Todd and some of the equipment and material that he buys to take care of a lot of our agronomy and the grass and the lawns at the golf courses and all of our landscaping needs. When you look at what it costs for fertilizer these days, or grass seed I think went up 260%. and it's going up again this year. Not that big of a jump, but still will increase. What Todd pays for fertilizers and those types of things, and anything oil-based is just incredibly expensive. We have vast amounts of asphalt that we have to repair. Those cost money. And then with the oil industry is what it is, I mean, those costs are affecting what we do. The governing board, in their last meeting, approved a 2.4% rate increase for our annual dues to help offset some of those costs. But you can see going back into the past when we didn't have any fee increases last year due to COVID. We didn't know where we're going. We didn't know what COVID is, what's going on around here. So no increase last year, and we came out of it this year with a 2.4% increase on our annual dues. In years past, you can see when the governing board approved a no fee increase, there's a quite sizable fee increase, member due-wise, the years after that, 15%, 14%, 11%, to make up for that. Our dues and how we spend your money go into the reserve fund at the end of the year, right? So there's not really a profit being talked about here. No benefits, no bonuses to anybody working here doing a terrific job, no kickbacks, those types of things. All of the money that we can save over the course of an operating year go into the reserve fund to prevent you from having us coming to you, knocking on your door, talking about a special assessment because we don't have enough money to fix a roof, to fix an air conditioner, to fix tennis courts or anything like that. We cover that, and we'll get to that in a minute. So we are a 501c4 organization. Recreation Centers of Sun City West. We are not organized for profit. We hear that a lot, read about it in the paper, opinion pages, and all kinds of things like that. That's not how we operate. The earnings of a 501c4 may not benefit any private shareholder or an individual. Doesn't happen. Profit is a measure of financial success, which an owner's major interest. We're not the owners. You guys are the owners. A profit is an income distributed to the owner in a market production process. That is not how functionally our finance division works. By policy, we have what's known as an operating cash flow. And this is a measure of the amount of cash generated by a company's normal business operations. So we have dues, annual dues that are mandated to pay for by all homeowners with their names on deeds or associate members and that type of thing. Rental income and all the discretionary funds that we talked about earlier. Golf fees, people paying rent or guest fees coming in, those types of things. So our operating cash flow indicates whether a company can generate sufficient positive cash flow to maintain and grow its operation, or otherwise we may require external financing for capital expansion. That's not our goal. Our goal is to make sure we have adequate operating cash flow annually to feed our reserve system, to make sure we are got all of our facilities covered when it's time to replace these floors, these lights, this roof, and everything else that we own. So by policy, the reserve fund policy talks about funds from the association and the operating cash flow, which is the excess of revenue or under expenses, right, transferred to the reserve fund. And the governing board has set a policy that our reserve fund needs to be somewhere between 40 and 100% of what's known as a fully funded balance. There's about 1,500 line items in a spreadsheet that we've got that takes care of everything we own, from doors to windows to anything that needs to be replaced. And where we sit now, the operating cash flow gets fed, as I mentioned. It also gets fed with investment income, market valuation changes, capital expenditures, and the R&R, repair and replacement that comes out of there every year to kind of take care of what we've got, any encumbrances, and the APF fees that we collect from all new members joining the association as far as buying a home here and buying into the association. So as we sit here today, I shouldn't say today, because this was put together a month ago. And when Mr. Finelli went on vacation last week, he came home and said, well, we lost $1 million, Bill. I'm like, thank you. But we are sitting at 56% of our fully funded balance. That's remarkable, considering. I don't know if any of you all participate in your own little neighborhood HOAs, and you all have the same situation that we do. We're a gigantic HOA. And so we want to make sure when the time comes, if a sprinkler system breaks, we have the money to fix it. And that's what this funding is for. And so for an association our size to have a 56% fully funded balance is pretty good. You're in good shape. These are the standards that I know you've all come to enjoy, and we want to make sure, based on that balance, that we are able to keep this up. These are tremendous facilities. We live I don't live here, I live across the river, but you all live in a wonderful environment. You should congratulate yourself every day for choosing Sun City West as a former residency. It's a terrific place. You have everything in the world at your fingertips inside the walls, and these facilities are taken care of by a group of people here, our employees, about 450 of them, making sure that these facilities stay as nice as they are. So I want to talk a little bit about our management team. And so outside of the organizational chart, I just want to talk about the title of who we are on this association. Rec Centers of Sun City West. There's 3 words there that if I get emails, and I get emails, trust me, but a lot of the questions and concerns and complaints focus on a couple of these words. Recreation centers, right? We are not LA Fitness. It's because, just because I don't use the swimming pool, I shouldn't have to pay my annual dues. I get that email 10 times a month. We are not a rec center. We are not a health club. We are a state HOA, right? A planned community with mandated rules by law through the state of Arizona that owner members within our community are mandated to pay their annual dues, whether you use the facilities or not. And the word Sun City West, the middle word in there is a city, and we are not. I used to work for cities throughout my entire professional career. Municipal government. Municipal governments take care of things like police departments, fire departments, street departments, cemeteries, parks, recreational facilities, that kind of thing. We don't, right? If there are potholes in the asphalt heading out to Deer Valley Golf Course, I'm notified of that. I get it. I know who to send the people to at Maricopa County to talk about, but those are not our responsibilities, right? We focus on environmental services. These colored boxes on this organizational chart are really our focus area. Todd Patty, again, I talked about him earlier, but he's overseeing all of our landscaping and all 7 of our golf courses. The golf operations are dealt with their manager, Pat O'Hara, 7 golf courses, series of golf professionals overseeing the operations of those golf courses, generating over $9 million for us. General Services is overseen by Katie O'Grady. She oversees the library, the Torch Citizens Academy, the Rec Center News, all the PR that goes out, our information services, and assists with our long-range planning. The property is dealt with by James Riley, and with our property scenario, he deals with all membership services of people coming in daily, paying their annual dues, asking questions, greeting the new members as they come in, as well as the CC&Rs that we are responsible to maintain to make sure the property stays as nice as it is. Mr. Finelli and his team oversees the financial services that we do. Very, very sizable. They do a terrific job considering the number of people in that staff room and everything that we are responsible for financially. All of our facilities are taken care of by Mr. Russ Boston. So all the facility maintenance and the facility projects, the rec centers and all that, they all fall under Russ to make sure that these buildings maintain their structure and are very well used. Casey Huda overseeing all of our special events, the chartered clubs and all the tours and scheduling and all those services, those recreational services provided by our division. And then Barry Hardesty deals with the bowling and the billiards and the Mimo's Cafe over at the Sports Pavilion. Marie Morawski oversees our HR division, and Kathy Peterson is somewhere in the house here, front row here. She is a walking encyclopedia. She has been here so long, she knows more about me than I do. But these things here coming up really can affect who we are and what we are. So the availability of water, I think we're in good shape. Water's a very confusing subject in the state of Arizona. Everybody talks about Lake Mead and it's draining, and that's surface water that feeds CAP and blah, blah, blah. We deal with groundwater. So there are water rights established long time ago that we own, that we bring water through wells up from the ground, and we water our golf courses that way. But EPCOR is a company that provides our water services to your house, to our swimming pools, to the rec centers, and that type of thing. So it's two completely different operations. And if you like, we can do a workshop on water if you want to learn on that. But as things progress, that might be a good idea to do, especially as we inch forward towards 2023 and the rules start to change. That would be a good educational tool, I think, for everyone here. The CPI, obviously, is going to affect how we spend money. And we do our best to make sure that our fiduciary skills are sharpened, and it's not our money to spend, it's your money, we realize that. So we do go out and get competitive bids. We just don't go out and shop. So we are looking for the best deals anytime we can, and we continue to do so. And then golf play, again, like I said, that adds $9 million to our revenue. We want to make sure that stays that way. And we continue to provide quality facilities that help boost that, and we hope that stays the way it is. So let me talk a little bit about some operational advancements that we've taken this year. It's been a busy year for us. So when it comes to member transactions, here's when people buy homes. So this is when people's dues are due. So you can see, pretty busy in the spring, thanks to Arizona and Arizona's weather. We kind of take advantage of that. That's our little marketing tool. So in the springtime, we see a little peak in home sales. But over the course of the year, it's pretty solid. So they're very busy up front, dealing with folks coming in, paying, and that type of thing. And then the CC&Rs, if you need to file a complaint or how a complaint is handled, we've assembled this little kind of a trifold brochure if anybody's interested. It is available online. But really, this is contact us, or if you got any questions about your CC&Rs, just talk to us, really. But these are a lot of little neighborhoods within Sun City West with a lot of different rules. So how the CC&R works, right? These are conditions and restrictions based on where you live. Something that happens on your side of the street might not be allowed on the other side of the street. It's just how these CC&Rs were developed as Sun City West was developed. Piece by piece by piece, different rules applied. And so we are dealing with that on a daily basis. But CC&Rs basically limit what you can and can't do on your property. They're basically a set of unique rules for your neighborhood, but they protect and enhance your property values. So Arizona Supreme Court and case law basically is the precedent for CC&Rs and how they're dealt with. Any kind of ARS or statutory changes that take place are brought into play. That typically, I think Riley will be presenting at our workshop maybe in September, but every year the state legislature makes new rules. There's a couple this year that are coming out, and Riley will be explaining that in another month or so when it's actually finalized, but it has to do with elections and how many signs you can have in your house and the size of the signs and how you display those and how long you can display those before and after an election. So there's a few changes in some of the rules and laws that we have to abide by, but we need to make sure that we get the information out to all of the owner members here living in Sun City West. And essentially, these are state laws that we have to comply with. So we do provide the educational updates, informational articles as needed, and then owner member roundtables if there are issues going on in certain communities that they would like to see addressed or fixed. But it's a complaint-driven program. We don't go out and about. We're not scouring neighborhoods looking for violations. These are brought to us by local people in the neighborhoods asking questions about various types of plants, weeds, those types of things. If things aren't looking quite right at a home, they'll get together with us if they can't make contact with their neighbor to see if we can't get involved and get some of those properties cleaned up, and we do. Talked a little bit about it earlier. COVID's still here, and we do abide by the CDC and Maricopa County as far as what they do as far as their levels. of illness that they're seeing. And we sit today, or a couple of weeks ago, we were still in the medium range, and whatever the rules are for medium type things, we abide by, and we move forward doing that. So I would ultimately, ask you to pay attention to that, keep an eye level on that, and that's kind of where we are as far as that goes. Talk a little bit about the event department and some software updates and new programming as far as ticketing goes. We were hearing that our old program was allowing people not living here having access to purchasing tickets prior to owner members. That's been cleaned up. So we can now accept gift cards as far as capabilities on how you can pay for tickets. It's a 24/7 operation now. We can scan events and help us out with reporting. In the past, it was somewhat of a cluster, and so now things have improved there with the rebuilding of the event department. So that was a big accomplishment here this year. I talked earlier about the revisions of the RMPs with Donna Maloney and Casey and all of the people that got involved putting that together. And we hope now to have all the bylaws completed for all these clubs sometime in October. When it comes to the sports pavilion, I think the biggest nuance or change that has come, or improvement, has been the Lizard Acres Pub, with a minimal amount of expenditure on there. Few chairs, tables, some paint, utilizing the Arts and Design Committee. Their artwork and their color selection and whatnot has kind of put a little pop into what was a shuffleboard room. Has turned it into a pretty nice pub. If anyone has had the opportunity to enjoy a beverage or two there, that's pretty good. The prices are right? And it's very well used. So there is talk about expansion. There's talk about what can we do? Is our improvements going? But Barry's gotten in there. There's karaoke nights now. There's trivia nights. There's all kinds of things going on there. So that's kind of a nice little improvement when it comes to the sports pavilion. Sorry, went the wrong way. I'm still going the wrong way. There we go. The Brunswick scoring system is a new improvement at the sports pavilion. That was added this year. Again, a great upgrade when it comes to technology and using that facility, and the number of rounds played there, or the lineage that goes on at that facility. I believe for a 30-lane venue, I think it's number one in the state. But where does the money come from when it comes to bowling? Right? Members generate about $125,000 playing bowling there. Non-members about 53, but the vast majority are league players. So it's a very, very busy venue and well used. Some improvements to our capital and planning process allow us now to take a really, really good look on it in a scheduled fashion on how projects get approved and how projects get planned and how money gets spent. So this basically defines our planning policy on the timeline on how projects have to be presented to us as far as funding goes, so we can get that in front of the governing board and all the committees, both short-term and long-term capital advancement parameters. So it's a very cool system as far as making sure everybody gets heard, and allows our finance team to put together a really good program when it comes to planning. When I came here a couple of years ago, I was given a tour early on as the general manager, and where this little hallway or breezeway is the metal shop, and it happened to be raining the day I was out there, and there were people using electrical equipment, standing in puddles, and the roof was leaking, and it explained to me that I said, well, how is this roof attached? And the building to the left is not even our building. That's a car wash. And so I was like, we need to fix this. But then I was introduced to the CIP policy that I just talked about, right? So I said, well, we'll just ask for funding from the governing board. Well, that didn't work. And so I got educated as far as the planning process goes. The roof got taken down. This is now two separate buildings, be it the metal shop and the car wash. And I am, after a couple of years and acquiring the appropriate funding for the improvement, this is like my favorite slide. I am honored to say that we've made the right improvements, And now the metal shop has a very, very nice venue in which to work safely in. And so I can't thank the governing board enough, Carl Wilhelm, for doing all you do with all of our project management, making this a reality, and the patience of the folks in the metal shop, if there are any here today, thank you. So when it comes to facility maintenance and repairs, very, very busy. Russ Boston is not here today, unfortunately. He's out ill. But I just want to compliment him and his staff. We work with what's called tickets. So if anybody knows of something that is not working properly or something is damaged, please file a ticket, fill out a ticket. It goes to Russ and his team. So over this year, they've worked on over 2,300 individual fix-its. Please get this done. They do it tremendously. I know you all have homes here, and in the summertime, you do not want your air conditioner to go out. But if it does, you know what that involves, and it's not cheap, and it does take a little bit of time. But we have 249 air conditioners that we have to take care of annually, and 14 of those were replaced this year based on their age, and that was done relatively seamlessly. I don't think much was shut down, and we didn't really incur any kind of outages and those types of things, disrupting any kind of recreational need from our members, so that was done very, very well. And we have 2 of Russ staff going around, and they basically deal with over 1 million gallons of water every day, making sure that these pools are safe and up to Maricopa County standards. And then I would like anyone to please email me if you ever find graffiti, right? You don't see that here. It's amazing. And we have over 4 miles of common walls that we take care of via paint. If it does happen, if graffiti does happen, with the time of day that these folks show up for work, typically around 4:30 in the morning, they have an eye on things, and probably before I get to work here at 7 in the morning, it's painted. They do a terrific job making sure this place looks as nice as it is, and it stays that way. But again, 151 roofs, and if any one of you have ever had a whistling toilet or a leak, we got 208 of those. This is a great aerial picture taken from a drone. The R.H. Johnson pool, beautifully landscaped. I wasn't here when the design folks and the architect folks were designing this. I would have asked one question, and that was, how do you get there? We have a countless amount of palm trees, a lawn, and a bunch of landscaping that has no physical access for any kind of vehicle. It's a pain in the, but it's pretty, very pretty. But I compliment our staff for doing all that they do there with a very limited access to that facility. But it does look very, very good. Quite the postcard. We had an outside contractor working the snack bar at R.H. Johnson facility. Unfortunately, due to COVID, their staff went away. Were not able to fulfill their contract, got out. It sat there for a little while. Russ, where's Jack? Jack here? Jack Strout was overseeing the maintenance of all of our facilities. He asked if he could see if there were available staff on a part-time basis to bring that back to life. He's done it, and it's doing very, very well. And I think the owner members that use that facility there in that venue are benefiting from that greatly. So I want to thank Jack personally for bringing that back. That was a good move. The R.H. Johnson Library is a very, very busy place. A private library, you don't see too many of those in the state of Arizona. Most are run by municipalities or counties. But a $20,000 grant was received from the Tohono O'odham Nation. Those were funds that were generated at the casino over by the football stadium in Glendale. But this provided us an opportunity to replace 12 all-in-one touchscreen computers over at our Data Resource Center. And the money was funded through the Broadcast Club, which has a tax status of a 501c3 charitable organization. So we worked with them, filling out the grant application. The grant was given to the Broadcast Club, and they turned those funds over to us to replace the computers. So thank them for that. They do a terrific job, community service, providing radio programming that they do here. But they also helped us with an opportunity here to enhance our library computer system. Very good. Friends of the library contribute $200 each month for the lecture series that goes on. And Tracy uses Arizona Humanities to help fund and find speakers for this lecture series. Very popular and very well run. So as far as numbers go, 73,000 people opened the door to that library. That's substantial. That's pretty good. And of those, 7,000 are individual people. So it's not like one person went there 73,000 times. 7,000 people went there 10. So, but it's very good, very busy, and you can see the spikes in service. But pretty much they hold their own as far as year-round use. Pretty good. When it comes to YouTube usage, again, a little technology advancements that we've done here. These meetings are televised. And so as far as our board meetings and a lot of our committee meetings, you can see that. And based on where we were at one time, where you had to come to these meetings to understand what's going on within the operations of our association, we've got over 12,000 views on our governing board meetings and our committee meetings over the past year. That's substantial, and I think that serves us very, very well. There's good information getting out there. And I will just like to highlight here some numbers for you to look at as far as our trainings for how to use the new ticketing system. We almost had 1,000 hits there. But the governing board candidates, as far as the last election goes, that topped over 5,000 views. That's pretty neat. Very good. This is where I tend to dump all of my golf balls that I don't want. This is some improvements over at Trail Ridge, but what I really, and Todd's going to talk about some of this in a second, but I just want to get through some of this. We live in a premier golf community in the state of Arizona, if not nationally. When you bought in here, these are 7 gorgeous golf courses that the rec centers manage. And tourism in the state of Arizona is huge, and golf is a very, very big part of that. So we took advantage of that this year and secured ourselves some grant money from the Department of Tourism that they were offering from a water conservation perspective. All golf courses that were built prior to 1986 were eligible for some grant funds. So we went after it. They were going to provide some infrastructure improvements to help on water conservation, and we were lucky enough to get awarded. So there were 4 golf courses that were of the appropriate age: Grandview, Stardust, Echo, and Pebble. And you could get up to $105,000 for each course. And we hit the maximum. So congratulations again to Todd and our consultants that were working with us, putting this grant package together. And so when it comes to fixing up things and doing things the right reason for the right scenario, when it comes to water conservation, new pump stations, some new desert landscaping, new sod and shoreline repairs, back to my original slide where I lose all my golf balls, potentially paid for by the Arizona Office of Tourism. And we can't thank them enough for doing that with us. So that's a big positive move for us. But when it comes to outside play and or golf in and of itself, we get a lot of play. Over 300,000 rounds, 300,000 people come through and play. But allowing guests and public play at our facilities, the financial importance of that is that we generate close to $2.5 million from guests and outside play. So we're very cognizant as far as when that takes place. The owner members have prime time privilege. They have an earlier opportunity to book tee times from the general public and that type of thing. And so what this really does is provide $2.5 million to us annually, which keeps the owner members' costs down as far as their daily fees go or their annual passes and that kind of thing. So it really goes a long way in helping us, but it also shows that we are really a wonderful golf community, and we hope to stay that way. And kudos again to you, Pat, for all that you do, making sure that those 320,000 people leave with a smile, even if they do lose their golf balls. You may have seen some outage or experienced some outage, checking into one of our facilities or using the internet or something along those lines. Cox was in here for the last month and a half, it seems like, and they were doing some fiber work. We've taken advantage of that. So now in our golf course areas, we've got the ability now to basically upgrade our network and provide mobile management for Todd and his team. In the past, they would have to physically go out to the golf courses and deal with things. Now with my device in my pocket and talking with Todd, I mean, we can turn on a sprinkler head if we want to. It's that good. And so that is really going to help down the road in the long run as we continue to make these water conservation and efficiency methods moving forward, where we have to really, really be concerned about where we put water and when and how much. And so this opportunity presented itself. We took advantage of it. And I think moving forward, I think we're going to be in, like I said, really, really good shape. I'm done, but I'm going to introduce Mr. Carl Wilhelm to talk about some of the wonderful projects that have taken place this year. He is our capital improvement project manager. Thank you, Carl. I need a drink of water.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone, governing board, members of our community. This is always an opportunity and a highlight for me to be able to share with you what we've accomplished over the year. I'll be on this slide for a little bit. I'd just like to give a few introductions myself and explain a little bit about capital projects. I'm very happy and joyful to announce that personally, a couple weeks ago, met my 5 years of employment here, and it's been wonderful, and I thank you for that opportunity. So, thank you. Capital projects are a huge part of our budget, virtually 50%. So the work that has to go into creating an annual budget, 50% of that work is figuring out what the capital side of it is, and then the other half's the operational. So when we talk about the CIP portion of that budget, it takes a lot of people, it takes a lot of input. These ideas come these projects come about in two ways. One from the reserve study tool and management tools that we have from our accounting department. And that basically tells us what our repair and replacement schedules for the next year are going to be. And then the ideas from the community, whether it's from a governing board discussion, a club discussion, or an individual member like yourself. You bring something to the table, you give a presentation to one of our committees during our project planning process timeline, and if it gets approved, it becomes a capital project. These capital projects are not, I am not able to manage and facilitate them without the help of many others. Other departments have capital in their budget. Todd Patty, by all means, probably one of the hardest working managers that we have here, 7 days a week of managing golf courses. He also has a very large component of the capital budget. By line item, I manage probably 80 to 90% of the projects that you see or read on our budget list, and I'm really happy to facilitate them. But a big thanks has to go to two of our departments that is managed by Russ Boston. Russ Boston is the facilities manager for the rec centers. Russ is my direct report. He's the direct report of Jack Stroup, who is the supervisor of all of the recreation centers. And then Byron Jones, who is the supervisor of the facilities maintenance team. Every single week, we sit down on a Wednesday. We start at 5 o'clock in the morning with a portion of those teams, and we discuss what are the maintenance problem sheets, what are Byron and I working on together, what are these projects doing to the operation that Jack is doing with facility leads and monitors, what are we closing down. Every single Wednesday, we discuss those plans and move forward with the best that we can do. But I got to say, I take my hat off to Byron and his staff of 13, that I couldn't complete some of these projects without them. They break these rooms down before I start, and they put those rooms back together when I'm finished. A lot of times for operational savings, they're the ones that are doing all the painting of the rooms, the walls of this community, the replacing of those toilets, the replacement of our air conditioning units on the roofs. That team of two professionals in the air conditioning department put together a plan with the rest of the team to work on weekends and actually replace our own units appropriately, just like a professional that we would have to pay a much larger fee to do. This team does an amazing job, and I want to thank them for that. So, That's my soapbox. And capital improvements, I'm happy to represent that 40 projects were managed in 21 and 22. 6 of those projects that were completed were encumbered from fiscal year 2021. Simply what that means is that every year, when I get to this area of the year, when the fiscal year is over, we have a couple projects that carry into the next business year and get finished. Those projects were the fiber project around the golf courses, the Palm Ridge parking lot walkway and parking lot lighting, the Beardsley electric renovation for the park and the stage and all the events that are held there. Deer Valley had a pro shop canopy that was built on the front of the pro shop. The metal shop addition that Bill was alluding to that was accomplished. It was a 2-year discussion, and the metal shop is up and operational right now, and that addition has been a huge change to that club. And then finally, the R.H. Johnson Fitness Center flooring. That was a very tall task to replace in a beautiful old floor. I wouldn't have personally replaced it based on its looks. It was gorgeous, but it was very slippery. And to kind of weave that new flooring in for everybody's safety, it was a tall task. It took a long time, and we never closed the pool to do it except for maybe a moment of demo and traffic for everybody's safety. So approximately 31 projects completed to date. So 3 of those projects are near completion and will carry over into July 2022. So out of all of the 40 projects this year, we got 3 more to go and finish up Environmental Services Edition, which is just east of the social hall. This houses our environmental services staff that does all the landscaping work. They were without an office, or their office was subpar. They met out of an old, cooler box. So those conditions were not adequate for our staff, and they have a beautiful office coming of 560 square feet. So the village store was kind of an impromptu, unexpected project due to club and tax discussions. So the village store is almost complete in its conversion. We'll have a community meeting room there and some offices in the back for the CC&R department. And then finally, the Beardsley lobby enclosure is still active. The overall projects for Beardsley have been completed. So we've finalized a greenhouse at Beardsley. We've done the park renovations. The internal parts of the pool building all repainted. Wait till you see the new pictures I'm going to show you here shortly. We have new lighting inside of the Beardsley Aquatics facility. The end of the pool had old carpet that met its useful life and some old fountains that were not quite as beautiful as when they first came into operation. That's all been removed, and now you have a multi-purpose rubber floor deck in the back, and it just looks beautiful. I can't wait till you all get to experience it and go visit that. But I am finishing up the lobby enclosure. Materials are a very difficult thing to manage right now. I'm sitting at drywall. The general contractor's done a fantastic job. 3 to 4 weeks until you get window frames that are custom, and then another 3 to 4 weeks till you get glass. So these are the obstacles that we work through. We want to open up that facility as soon as possible, but I like sharing as much information with you as I can. So only 2 facts and findings were presented to the governing board this year. Facts and findings are the information that we put in a document to give to the governing board to make a decision when we have to ask for additional funds for a project. Never liked those moments. I'm happy to say that we're generally under budget in all areas, but sometimes a particular project or two runs in its either issues or the times that we're in, like today, the materials and labor cost more. So governing board approved those 2 projects, and both of them are almost complete. That would have been the Environmental Services Office and then the village store conversion. So I'm very pleased to express that despite the volatility in material cost, labor, and marketing changes, these projects were all completed within the approved capital budget for 21-22. So we didn't have any cost overruns in our budget. This has been discussed with the CFO and I, and that's 5 years running. So I'm proud of that fact, and I'd just like to share in my final comments some of the highlights by photo. So what you see here in the opening slide of CIP is the Kuntz parking lot that was completed early last year in 21. A little conversation about this is parking lots in the community overall are 40 to 25 years old, and they've met their useful life. Some look better than others. Just previous to the Kuntz lot, we did Palm Ridge right here, and you can see that this parking lot looks quite nice and is going to get its first seal coat on it, so to preserve it for the 30 years that we expect. Kuntz was finished in early of 21. All parking lots that I remove the asphalt and redo are subject to what's the condition of the soils underneath that land and underneath that asphalt. And so we make the best decisions we can. We plan for these projects to go quickly, but at times there's delays or there's operational costs that need to be asked for to repair those soils quickly. A little heads up, in the upcoming budget, you're going to be experiencing the asphalt being removed from the south side of the ARC building all the way through the pickleball courts and the library in a two-phase process. So I'm going to do one phase through the ARC building all the way to the Meeker Common Drive, and we'll have to have traffic and parking redistributed elsewhere. And then the second phase would be the library and the R.H. Johnson Common Drive. So be prepared for that. That'll be happening later this summer. And then over at Kuntz, to finalize this slide, we also did the final LED lighting program for the parking lots. I'm happy to show you the Women's and Boobers Club renovation. This started off as a flooring request, and then this is where facilities maintenance jumps in. We try to tackle as much as we can for the benefit of the club at the time a project happens. Facilities maintenance and Jack Straub jumped in and said, let's repaint this room. Let's not just make it a flooring project, and boy did it turn out beautiful. Beardsley Swim and Fitness Center, I talked about that a little bit. There's your new paint scheme. At the end of that pool, if you were to be able to visit there today, you'd see the brand new rubber flooring that's at the end of that pool, same kind of flooring that's at the Kuntz pool deck. So I hope that you enjoy that softer, cooler rubber product that goes down there. Has a long life expectancy, and it comes in a lot of beautiful colors. Included at Beardsley is, again, that lobby project. I'll get to that next slide, but here's your new colors. There's new Musco lighting. That pool is bright and light. And the picture at the bottom right is the new spa look. And the picture at the top right is the end of the pool sunburst. Here's our lobby progress. If you were to go there today, we'd be fully insulated and in drywall. And I shared with you some of the logistic issues. So I would love to have this done quickly, but I think we're going to have a little bit of delay due to the glass windows and try to get that building open as soon as possible. This will be an air-conditioned space just like the R.H. Johnson Swim and Fitness Center when it's done. Super happy to have had this experience building a greenhouse with the Desert Garden Club. I got a very happy person over there. This greenhouse existed for 40 years as a 300 square foot greenhouse, and now it is a 1,000 square foot greenhouse. This club has done an amazing job in making a botanical garden. So not only did we get to renovate and build them a new greenhouse, but the space behind this greenhouse at the end of the Arts and Crafts building at Beardsley just looks remarkable. So that is phase 2. That's what they're working on. You're going to have these beautiful butterfly gardens and all the different kinds of botanicals that grow inside of Arizona's southwest Sonora Desert. And I can't wait till it matures and looks just absolutely amazing. little picture of what's inside there. All their new tables. They have a teaching station. This is fully automated. The control system gave me a lot of anxiety. I got to admit, I've never seen so many wires in a project in my whole life that I had no clue what they did. So we had folks come from Michigan to build this. The greenhouse company is called Prospiant. They're out of Colorado. That got shipped from Colorado. And then we had one of our seasoned GCs that has performed for us before, did a fantastic job in site prep and creating the foundation for this. And I will tell you that the club tells me how happy they are. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm glad they get it. Moving on to another remodel was the R.A. Johnson Men's Club. This was a project titled Replacement Flooring and Millwork. So they got 2 walls of the entire club room with new millwork for storage. They had a lot of parts and pieces from 20-some years of bringing stuff in and kind of making it homey. Now it matches our look and feel and use for the rest of our rec center club rooms. So they have beautiful storage, brand new. They have a new monitor station. And then they have LVT and carpet areas. And then again, facilities maintenance comes in. Repainted the whole entire men's club from the stampede room, the hallways, and this fabulous room. Organized TV stations, a couch and living room kind of set up for relaxing, reading a book for the men's club. And it was a great project to do. R.A. Johnson Social Hall. These floors that you are sitting on today, every so often need to be sanded down to a raw hardwood. You only get so many opportunities to do that before the actual floor has to be actually replaced, which is a very large expense. But because of the care and maintenance that we do, we generally do a screen and seal every year where we just polish these floors up, make sure that nothing's getting to the actual hardwood. And we do that on a yearly basis. But last year, the R.A. Johnson Social Hall got sanded down to bare wood and recoated, and it looks just absolutely gorgeous. This will be coming up in a few years here at the Summit Hall. And then finally, this has been kind of a year of really, reimagining some of our spaces and rejuvenating some of the things that have just been flat out outdated and not necessarily the highest priority at the time or in the past years. But for a while, you probably saw some bare signs. I got a lot of emails. I know Bill got a lot of emails. Where's the lettering? Welcome to. And so here's all your new signs. We actually had 5 entry points to the community, and all 5 of them got the new logo. And this is what our outside of our community sees when they drive in now. So, folks, I thank you for the honor and privilege to be able to do these projects for you. Great ideas. I thank my coworkers and staff that helped me accomplish these things, and thank you, Governing Board, for approving projects that just beautify this community. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Yes, I am. Yep, just a short one, just got a few slides. All right, good morning. Today I have just a few slides to talk about some of the projects that were completed last year, over the past year, and also give an update on the irrigation project and turf removal over at Grandview. So we'll start with an update with the Grandview landscape. If you played over there in the last couple of days, you may have noticed some staking or some irrigation flags over there and some paint marks. We started mapping irrigation heads along the perimeter of the golf course, which indicates the proposed areas of desert landscape. So we'll be removing that grass when we close the golf course in 2023. We're also looking at spraying out those areas that are marked as desert landscape to kill off the grass. So we'll get a start on that probably at the end of this year, and early next year we'll be doing that. This is just a timeline that we put together, and we've been pretty good as far as following this and staying on schedule. As you can see up there in June, you're not going to be able to really read that, but we did do the staking of the perimeter heads. And then in August, we're still on track to put in a new pump station, which will be part of the overall irrigation project. And then our public forums in November, we're looking at having those on Friday the 18th over at the lecture hall, and then perhaps another fourth forum if we need it after the first year in February. And then we start the project in April of 2023. Now we will have, the front 9 will be open for play. We'll close the back 9. And as soon as we're finished with the back 9, we'll make that turn over to the front, and then the entire golf course will be closed. Driving range, practice green, and all that. And this is just a sample of some of the areas that we're going to be converting over to desert landscape. This is pretty consistent of what we're going to do around the entire golf course. As you can see, the shaded areas are the perimeter of the golf course, and then some of the yellow markings are the road crossings and street front. So we're looking at picking up about 40 acres of turf removal. And with that, we've estimated we're going to save about 136 acre feet of water annually. So this is really going to be good as far as putting us in compliance with ADWR and the 5th Management Plan in 2025. One of the projects that we completed on the golf course was the putting green renovation project over at Pebblebrook. The old green measured about 5,700 square feet. So only about 20% of that was really level. So it really wasn't practical for a practice green. We removed the old green, installed drainage, new root zone mix, new drainage and irrigation heads, and then we sprigged it with 328 Bermuda grass. You can see the picture there on the left. That was the final grade. Got all the drainage in. We've got the irrigation heads put in, and then the photo on the right there, you can see where we're shooting the sprig stolons. So we were able to open the putting green about 14 weeks after the sprigging with the Bermuda stolons, and the new practice green is about 4,400 square feet larger than the original green or the old green at that time. And that's how you see it today. The new green is just over 10,000 square feet. And then our shoreline project over at Trail Ridge that we completed this summer. We have a total of 43 lakes on all 7 golf courses. And so to date, we've completed 14 of those lakes in some form of hardscape or edging around the lakes. Shoreline repair projects help stop erosion, reduce water loss through seepage. And then on the 2 lakes that we completed over at Trail Ridge, we've estimated that we're saving about 5 acre feet of water a year just by reducing the seepage that we have on that lake. So as I mentioned, we have 43 lakes. We've only completed 14, so we've got a lot of work ahead of us to do the other lakes. Probably the next lake that we're looking at doing would be the one over at Stardust. That would be the last lake on that golf course. So we're going to hopefully use some of that grant money that Bill talked about earlier to use that towards that project. And then you saw this picture earlier in Bill's presentation. That's how the lake looks today after that project that we completed. It turned out really well. We did both lakes on that hole, the upper one and the lower one, and we did the hard edge around there, and it really looks good. I think it's improved the playability of that hole. At least that's what I'm hearing from the golfers. It not only looks good, we're saving water, but as far as playability of that golf hole is really improved. And so that's it. I'm going to turn this back over to Bill so he can close out the meeting. If anybody's got any questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, I know you've been sitting there for a long time. I'll try to keep my comments brief, and then we'll have some resident comments after that, and then we will be taking a break before we go into our regular board meeting. Okay, as my board presidency ends, it's time to reflect on the accomplishments of this governing board. The fiscal year began with a citizen-initiated and very contentious summer recall of a recently elected director. The community responded with a resounding message, clearly setting the expectations for civil discourse in the operation of Sun City West. The board reclaimed its stability throughout the fall session by appointing some seasoned directors and learning to work together. A huge task of this board was to resolve the tax concerns of the chartered clubs. With the support of the Chartered Clubs Committee and leadership of Donna Maloney, a total revamp of the RRPs took place. The document went from 44 pages of repetitive confusion to a manageable about 20. And I thank Casey for working with Donna on that. And I guess I pushed a little bit to make sure that that got done. We feel that things were resolved and are thankful to Pora, who stepped up to provide an artist's shop, the Del Sol Gallery, as an outlet for our artists. The board became the impetus for the master planning process, which has resulted in a community survey and group forums. This gives us directions for the future, and we hope that those things will come to fruition. Throughout the support of our general manager, the start of an indoor gathering.
Hey, Sharon, can you hear me? Okay, I just want to make sure that it was
Okay.
working.
If it wasn't for Bill Schwinn saying, Sue, go for
Right
that
now, we
Lizard
muted the
Acres
Zoom call,
Club,
so
go
that way
get
me and you
it."
can talk, and then once I'm done, we'll
This
just bring it
wouldn't
back up.
happened. And so that really came to
Okay.
a great conclusion, as you've seen and heard in his comments. I was there last night, and everybody's loving it. And we did it on a very minimal amount of money. So, and thanks to the Arts and Design Committee that did the painting of those lizards. It's great. Our lecture hall received a kind of a cleaner stage area, and that became the home for the governing board committee meetings. And that is because we need to be there in order to be videotaped. It's very difficult to transport all of that information over here and to close down this area. So that was a permanent home, and that was a change for this year. And I think something that we certainly want to keep in terms of the video recording. You've already heard about the great capital projects. I won't go into those again because Carl has done a great job, and Todd too, talking about the improvements. We were able to have Torch Academy after having been closed because of COVID. And our election committee did a great job providing us with enough people to have a vote and having a real election, and I appreciated that as well. Along the way, the governing board this year really revised and eliminated or brought up to date almost 20 different policies and bylaws. They really did a thorough job of examining things, and I really appreciate that. We've also answered millions, seems like millions of emails and requests and concerns from citizens. I've met with people individually, and I really did enjoy that. It gives you a real good understanding of what people are interested in and what they want. I thank the residents and the board for your support and trust over my past 4 years on the board, and I ask that you support your general manager, Bill Schwinn, and his great staff that he manages. They do a fabulous job. A special thanks to our governing board executive assistant, Karen Repkin. She is kind of the glue that holds us together. Without her, we would be in trouble. And also to Bonnie Ellis for being our parliamentarian. And we have a backup too. Thank you very, very much. I leave you knowing that the next board and the competent staff will keep Sun City West a great place to retire. Okay, and so now, if you have a comment that you would like to make, please go to the center aisle, sign your name at the podium, and put your rec card number there, and then come to the center microphone, make your comment. Comments are for owner members, and limit yourself to under 2 minutes, please. Thank you. After you've signed in with Karen at the podium, come forward and speak into the microphone. Tip it down so it hits your mouth there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. I would like to ask a question. Why are you not letting the casino buses come into Sun City West? Now, there are a lot of old ladies like me, and, you know, that was a day of recreation, just to go there. And now we have to go to Sun City. Sun City, they go to Sun City. And it's not convenient to do that. A lot of us older ladies don't drive anymore even. And unfortunately, I have a husband that will take me there. But anyhow, I'd like to know why you are not letting the buses come in here. You're not, well, I don't know why.
Okay,
I know the bus from Harrah's in Laughlin, you're letting that one come in here.
I think that's up to the casinos.
The casino,
correct.
I asked at the casino. I asked the man at the casino who was in charge of transportation or whatever. And he said that it was the rec center here that told them they were not,
Okay, Casey will
could not come
respond.
in.
Casey will respond to that.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Casey. So during COVID, that all ended, and that's obviously due to close contact. And then, to be honest, we never pursued it after that. I did have one gentleman call me from a casino. I don't remember where it was. We talked about the impact of the asphalt and the amount of buses that go through there. So not only do our tours take that up, we have a lot of clubs that I have found take up a lot of space in their tours. And then just the traffic alone, we can definitely look into it. I'll talk to Carl on the usage of it and then kind of go from there. So it's something we can just kind of look for and do a little bit of research.
Yeah, because I know they, were, you know,
Okay.
before the COVID, buses were always coming.
Yeah.
here.
Okay, we'll
And-
take care of it. Casey's looking into it. So
okay,
thank
that
you.
That would be great if
Thank
we
you.
could have the
Thank you
buses
very
come back.
much for your comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please come, if you're planning to speak, please come ahead and sign your name so that we can do this a little more efficiently with time.
I just have a comment and a question. During the last election episode, I was going through the policies and bylaws and different things, and I discovered that if you own more than one property, you have more than one vote during elections. That is, like my wife and I own our property, we have 2 votes. If we own 3 properties, we would have 6 votes. I'm wondering where that originated and why that continues, and if that is actually fair, that you have 1 vote per property for every owner versus 1 person, 1 vote.
I don't know if we have an answer on the spot for that, but I think it's been there forever. Roberta, just it's always been there.
Hi, James Riley. Essentially how that is conducted is it's 1 vote per person on a deed. So therefore, you and your wife both have a vote. And if you were to buy a second home, for example, and you only had it in your name, sir, you would get another vote.
That's not correct. If I owned 3 properties and rented 2 of them out, my wife and I would have 6 votes. I was at the election committee meetings, and it's automatically done. And I heard a person say that it's automatically tabulated for those people that have multiple properties. So
Correct. You do get a vote for each property.
So maybe this should be changed and maybe should be looked into. I have one other simple question, and I'm wondering, we have a lot of shortage for landscaping and greens, do we have shortages in administrative positions, or do they get paid better and therefore those positions are filled?
Can you respond to that? Okay, next.
Quick, I'm going to use that.
I don't think we've changed administrative positions. That's my short answer, but, yeah, yes.
Having written grants, real quick, Mass Transportation Authority is doing a total revision. They're doing bus turnarounds. They've got millions of dollars to waste in Arizona. You should get on it right away and get your piece of it. Golf courses are my concern about not setting aside one golf course during summer for people to use for walking. Again, millions of dollars are being spent on mental health. For the last 60 years, mental health has said walking in park situations relieves stress, solves depression, on and on and on. So I don't know where you've been, but in the 50s and 60s before air conditioning, my family in Chicago, we slept in the city parks and on the golf courses at night sometimes. So nice. As a kid, I played on golf courses all winter long. I, skied and played on golf courses. I have relatives that live in golf courses all over the United States that walk their dogs on them. Nobody's heard anything as ridiculous as I've heard here. It comes to the point where you approach that only someone who was really evil would keep you off of golf courses and let people not go out there and enjoy it. My sister-in-law, been a missionary for 40 years, North Africa, Sahara Desert, beats anything you've ever had in Arizona. When she comes back to Michigan to visit, she wants to sit in green grass, not get stung or bit by anything, and enjoy a bottle of clean water. That makes her day, and she can do that all summer long, and she's done that every summer that she's come back. So, I really think you should give some thought to being civil and kind and understanding to the people in this community, and let a guy run his dog on your grass, and let people walk on your grass, and let people take their wheelchairs and go along your pretty cart paths.
Okay, time is up. That's probably something that Harry can handle in the golf committee next year. Okay, last one.
Howdy, I'm Jerry Dom. I had a question as to the gun policy that's here, that we're a gun-free zone within the buildings, and seeing as how that 94% of all gun violence, mass shootings occur in gun-free zones, I'd like to have that lifted for our association area. The other thing I wanted to know about would be why is there so much grass around this facility right here, Palm Ridge, when you could eliminate a lot of water use and labor costs in maintaining those grass areas if they were converted to rock? And I don't know whether that's in your capital plan or not. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, on recycling. Currently, we're only recycling cardboard per the signs that are on the bins over there. So I want to know why we're not recycling paper, plastic, and aluminum as well. So I don't know what's the status of that guy. So that's all I had for right now.
Okay, we will take those under consideration.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay,
I have another one, so.
One more? Oh. Okay.
Maybe this was answered already, but is there going to ever be a village store, or all these crafts going to be over to Pora to be sold, or what's happening?
Pora has offered a gallery for individual artists from Sun City West to put their items in. And if you haven't been over there, you should go take a look. It's beautiful. So
I have been. It's very small, though.
Oh, no, it's very nice, much larger than the other facility that we had.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. At this point, I'd like to announce that the next annual meeting will be June 22nd of 2023 at 9 o'clock, right in the same facility. Okay, and let's take 5 minutes enough, Karen, or do we need more? 5-minute recess before we go into the regular board meeting. meeting to order. This is the regular governing board meeting on June 23rd. The first item of business is to look at the first item of business is turn off your phone. Yeah. Okay. First item of business is our May 26th governing board regular meeting amended minutes that the board has seen. Are there any corrections or further additions to the amendments that were presented? Hearing, seeing none, then they will stand approved as presented. Then the first item on business is to introduce the bill, to introduce your staff. How do you want to deal with that? You want to just have them stand? And
Yeah, we can do that. Those that are here, would you please stand and
turn around and face the crowd, what's left of it.
let me go, if I can, you want me to go down the list?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I'll say something kind about all of you. Marie Morawski is our HR director, responsible for all the hiring, firing, and all keeping us all in line. She's absolutely doing a tremendous job with her staff of 2. Folks in the back room who you can't see, they're hiding behind glass. John Loomis, Mike Cohen, Martin Aguero, and Johnson Smith. Will you please
In the box.
stick your head out of the window? They are responsible for televising, recording, and doing all the wonderful things in the IT world that make these possible and to allow you to view these at home now at your leisure. So thank you to that team. Excellent, excellent job. Todd Patty provided the golf information. He has been here longer than some of these, no, not quite that long. But he's a legend, ladies and gentlemen. I think you are looking at someone who should have like a statue made for him. But what he does with these golf courses here and has been here for such a while, the man is an absolute talent. But Todd Patty, golf course superintendent. Casey Huta oversees all of our recreation programming. We call her a RAM. She's our recreation activity manager. But all of our club activities, all the recreational programs, all the seasonal events, special events, all get run through her and her division, and she does a wonderful job coordinating all of that. Patrick O'Hara, he teaches golf lessons every once in a while. He kind of knows what he's doing. But he is a PGA golf professional overseeing all 7 of our golf courses with a few PGA guys underneath him as well. But again, Patrick is responsible for all of the operations of the daily play that's going on at all of our courses. Like I said, 320,000 folks come by and they all leave seemingly with a smile. So anyway, Patrick, thank you for all you do. James Riley goes by Riley. I hate calling him Riley because it's his last name. I just don't have that in me, but he does go by Riley. And it goes back to kindergarten. I had to get the story. But Mr. Riley oversees all of our membership services, all the folks coming in, dealing with their dues. Riley tracks down all of the properties that take place or the property exchanges that take place outside of real estate. So he does a lot of tracking down and recovering of funds that are due to our association, does a tremendous job there. And he also oversees the division of CC&Rs, making sure that these properties stay as nice as they are. So him and his team do a terrific job. Terry Woods is relatively new to our department. West, sorry, that's how new she is. Does a tremendous job in the accounting world. She is a seasoned accountant, and believe me when I say that, as short of a time that she is here, she has picked up the ball and ran, and very difficult to catch. Really knows the ins and outs of the accounting world, and we are blessed to have her. And she's also a resident living here and enjoying the golf courses as much as she can. Our accounting manager is Cliff Swan. Again, a couple years. How long have you been here, Cliff? A year? August. Right on. replaced somewhat of a legend in the world of accounting, Mr. Tim D'Angelo, who is a starter now at Grandview Golf Course. But Cliff, again, comes from the accounting world, very seasoned and understands what's going on. He, again, within a year, I think understands what Sun City West is all about. And with the fiduciary skills that he possesses, I think has got us going down a very, very prosperous trail. And thank you, sir. Kathy Peterson has been here a while. She is our administrative assistant. She keeps me kind of in line as much as she possibly can. But I think I called her a walking encyclopedia earlier today. But she is the backbone of the administrative office and takes care of all of the ins and outs, all of the customer concerns and issues that get driven here through our email service. So all the concerns that we get and the questions from our owner members get routed through Kathy. Does a terrific job responding to all of those. And again, is our kind of our right hand lean on as far as administration goes. And Kathy, you are a wonder. Thank you. Barry Hardesty oversees our sports pavilion. Again, a very, very busy facility, the busiest 30-lane bowling facility in the state of Arizona. I kind of get taken back by some of the things that he knows about the bowling world and operating that facility there. He and his staff have been handed a pub recently, and he's been doing a terrific job managing that with absolutely no storage. We run through beer by Wednesday, and we run around trying to find some more and bring it back. But I'm told a new cooler is somewhere in the supply chain coming our way. So that should help. But Barry, thank you. I can't see who's behind Carl. Carl Wilhelm, our capital projects supervisor, oversees all of the capital projects, handles millions of dollars in owner money funds going through what we do every year, whether it's a new project or repairs and maintenance. And Carl comes from the construction business. He knows the ins and outs of general contracting work and provides us some serious, serious talent when it comes to assembling budgets and also understanding what the cost of materials are, providing us ample information and education, putting our budget together. And as he says, we typically hit the mark and are not having to run to the governing board for uh-ohs. So Carl, thank you for all you do and keep it up, sir. Peter Finelli is our CFO. He's been here several years now, a couple of years, about my term, 3. Pete oversees the managing tool of what we call our reserve funds. Pete oversees all of our investments, all of our banking scenarios, and oversees the finance division. He comes from the world of hospital administration professionally, so he has been here for 3 years working with us, and he has done just a knockout job when it comes to budget and finance. Thank you, sir. Last but not least, Ms. Tracy Skousen is our library director, overseeing our facility. She's been here after the retirement of a very long-term employee. So Tracy, welcome and thank you. And you have brought a lot of modernization to that facility, and we continue to move forward, and I can't thank you enough for all you do. And there's about 425 others that are not here today doing what they are supposed to be doing outside and making sure this place is running as nicely as it does. And thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, at this point now, we are going to have the end-of-year reports from each of the committees, just a few words for them to kind of highlight what they've done during the year. We'll start with Ann Brown, Budget and Finance.
Thank you, President Fitzsimons. Can you hear me?
Perfect, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the members of the Budget and Finance Committee this year, who were Gary Bosak, Anita DeGumbia, John Hobold, George Kuchak, Kathy Lindell, Dick Rhodes, and Richard Tornabene. We met every month from September through May. We did not hold any meetings in December. Primary responsibilities were approval of financial statements, review of financial policies, capital equipment updates, and approval of the 2022-23 operating budget and capital budget. In September, or starting in September, Each month, we reviewed the financial statements for the prior month. We also, in September, accepted the report from Clifton Larson Allen, who are our auditors, and they gave the report for fiscal year 2021. On a regular basis, we received updates on the capital and reserve funds, as well as the capital tracker for the current year capital expenditures. We reviewed financial policies. We made changes to 6 of them, but all of them were reviewed. We had regular updates from our financial advisors, which is Cap Trust, a company that we chose a year ago. We did review and approve to the governing board the overall $50,000 and capital budget for fiscal year 23. We also reviewed and approved the fiscal year 22-23 budget with 5-year plan. And when that was first presented to us, I have to thank my committee because they made several suggestions for changes to both the budget and the presentation. And Pete Finelli and his staff readily embraced those and made changes. Other things we did during the year, we reviewed the association health insurance renewal. We received reports on the annual workman's comp premium, the property casualty and liability insurance. We reviewed the revised RRPs. We looked at capital requests from 2 clubs, Rip and Sew and Clay Club. Reviewed information from our general manager about outstanding pledges from Pickleball Club, Tennis Club, and Stained Glass. Reviewed the presentation from Desert Botanical Gardens to change their current business model to a botanical garden, and reviewed the facts and findings for the renovation of the prior village store to be made into a CCR office and village meeting room. In addition, we got a very informational presentation regarding credit card usage within the Sun City West. And we had a busy year, and again, my thanks to my committee. That's the end of my report, President Fitzsimons.
Thank you. Roberta, Properties Committee.
First, I would like to thank Carl Wilhelm and Russ Boston and their staff for assisting the committee during our tenure. We couldn't do it without the 2 of them. I would like to express my appreciation to the Properties Committee members who served on the 2021-2022 committee: Tom Jones, Barbara Sloan, Marley Kistler, Sharon Weinblatt, Bob Hartley, Sherry Jones, Linda Murin, and Jim Kraus. The committee did not find any major projects to push through. We were very happy with the projects that are in progress, and Carl outlined most of those. The committee began with a tour of each of the rec centers, the library, and the metal shop during a 2-week period in October. One of the things we did was review 3 different locations for a T-Mobile cell phone tower. We did approve all 3, but preferred the one that was in the maintenance yard at the end of R.H. Johnson. But it's up to T-Mobile to decide whether they're still going to put one in the community or put it outside. The committee approved moving forward to the governing board workshop the Rip and Sew request for cabinet refacing in their room at R.H. Johnson. After our tour of the facility, the committee felt that we should have toured Rip and Sew prior to voting on the recommendation for new cabinets. And we suggest that all committees review the facility upon receipt of a club request for facility changes. The committee approved moving forward to the governing board workshop the $30,000 Clay Club monitor station request. The Clay Club is willing to contribute $20,000 to that project. The committee came to consensus to recommend to the governing board the proposed Desert Garden Club Botanical Garden project. The club is paying for that project. The committee also came to consensus to recommend the CC&R's office and village meeting room renovations. And I also like to encourage everyone to check periodically the Sun City West website. We now have a new capital projects page that summarizes what projects are in progress and what's happening, and they also have pictures. So I encourage all of you to look at that. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Harry, the Golf Committee report.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank my members on the committee, Paul Piper, Gary Gibbelhaus, Tom Wolganot, Patty Strait, Don Andrew, Marilyn Miller, and the last one, I can't remember his name, Tim Hurley. We started the year with pandemic rules still being encouraged. We had a change of range balls from white to yellow. Pebblebrook Putting Green was open to rave reviews upon completion of the project. We had approval from the board for increased dry seed costs to ensure we had sufficient supply for overseeding for the current year. Policies were reviewed with changes made to 2 of the policy, and a new policy was added for cart usage, which is policy G04. Discussion was held regarding the lottery system notifications not working correctly. The issue remains, and the company continues to work with resolving the issues. Golf course water usage was below budget last year and has been for the last 9 years. There was discussion and consensus on golf fee increases due to overseeding, seed costs, petroleum costs, wages, and benefit increases. Discussion during the year on Grandview's new irrigation system and turf removal to meet Arizona state new requirements. And revenues and rounds of golf have been consistently up during the year. I would like to acknowledge the support and input from the committee. Without their respectful demeanor and knowledge, we would have not been able to achieve such success. Additionally, I'd like to commend Pat O'Hare and Todd Patty for their cooperation with the committee and diligence in maintaining our golf courses at the highest standard. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Donna Maloney, the Chartered Clubs Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. Charter Clubs Committee began our year with 2 meetings in August 2021. The rules, regulations, and procedures, RRMPs for charter clubs hadn't been updated in years. Discover tax status issues were paramount. The village store, sales, commercial mass production, advertising, and club revenue. Committee goals were to increase club participation in committee meetings, RRPs to be more concise and omit redundancies, the implementation of association software for use in all charter clubs, the scwclubs.com website to be updated and include a club of the month. Each month, the committee would address additional issues such as club pledges, club monitoring, membership participation, space utilization, membership meetings, club guests, and reciprocity, for example. The recreation manager sent emails to charter clubs announcing upcoming charter club committee meetings and issues on the agenda for discussion and or recommendation. This helped tremendously with club attendance and interaction at committee meetings. Many suggestions from committee audiences were incorporated into the recommendations forwarded to the governing board workshop. The final issue dealing with independent contractors was approved by the governing board on March 1, 2022. Necessary updates to the RRPs also resulted in some forms needing to be updated by staff. The CR3 Sample Club Bylaws form needed a complete revision. This document now includes instructions, a sample template, and appendices. The association is currently working with clubs needing updated bylaws. It is hoped that by October 2022, all charter clubs needing updated bylaws will be complete. New procedures were set in place for the Charter Clubs Committee. Recreation manager and committee chair began meeting weekly. All charter clubs were divided into groups: arts and crafts, cards and games, fitness, dance, educational, golf, performing arts, social, and sports. Committee members were selected and assigned to the specific groups. Recreation Manager was the liaison for performing arts, and Charter Club Specialist was the liaison for golf clubs. Committee members, liaisons, were then responsible for contacting assigned clubs, offering help, and establishing good relationships. Liaisons then gave monthly reports to the Recreation Manager and Committee Chair. Recreation Manager addressed any issues, items needing committee discussion and/or recommendation were put on the upcoming agenda. Recreation Manager gave Charter Club updates at all committee meetings. New procedure for committee evaluations was also instituted. After final committee meeting May 3rd, 2022, committee members, excluding committee chair, met in groups of 3 to complete one committee evaluation form for each of the 3 groups. Executive assistant collected forms and will provide them to the incoming committee chair. Hopefully, this new procedure will provide invaluable information for the new incoming committee chair. 2021-22 was a very successful year for the Charter Clubs Committee. New, updated, and revised RMPs are complete, have been reviewed and approved by the Association Attorney and Professional Counsel, and are posted on the scwclubs.com website. This website is redesigned and promotes a Club of the Month. Association software is now in use by all charter clubs. Software data will provide valuable information for space utilization and RRMP's compliance of all charter clubs. The CR3 Sample Club Bylaws is revised and posted on the scwclubs.com website. All committee goals were met and new procedures were instituted for the Charter Clubs Committee. Many thanks to the committee, Carol Card, Pat Bowers, Otto Werner, Karen Justice, Mary Kay Vidal, Joel Piakowski, Lyanne Hathaway, Kathy Estes, and Judy Thompson. Also, special thanks to Casey Huta, Recreation Manager, and Sue Fitzsimons, Governing Board President. A very successful team for a very successful year for the Charter Clubs Committee. Thank you.
They had their work cut out for them, I'll tell you that. We do appreciate that. Okay, Lisa, Sports Pavilion and Bowling Committee.
Thank you, President Fitzsimons. I'd like to thank all the Sports Pavilion Committee members, Tracy Anderson, Jim Nesbitt, Fran Fecco, Joe Hoyer, Ron Ryman, and Nancy Hughes for the great job they did this year and how well they worked together. It was great working with Barry and Corrine. They were wonderful to have on the committee. All the committee members brought forth excellent ideas regarding both Lizard Acres and the bowling alley in general. Our committee camaraderie made implementation of all of our ideas so much easier and fun. With approximately 1 year under its belt, Lizard Acres continues to sustain itself, seeing ongoing monthly increases in revenues. Lizard Acres' success is partly due to the implementation of live music, trivia, and karaoke nights. If you haven't yet enjoyed the entertainment, such as last night, as President Fitzsimons mentioned earlier, you should partake in this. I also want to mention that the Lizard Acres staff does an outstanding job working with the entertainers while keeping the patrons happy. This is not an easy task. I thank them. I'd like to thank our CFO, Pete Finelli, for the exceptional job he does in working with myself and the committee in presenting reports and answering the many questions thrown his way. We greatly appreciate you, Pete. Thank you. I look forward to again chairing this committee in the upcoming year and seeing what fun things we can accomplish for our wonderful Sun City West community. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, next is Bob Wilson, who is the chair of the Torch Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess I better hold on to this sucker. Torch is a special committee of the board that's reauthorized annually, and we have a team of committee members of 13 dedicated folks that work to educate owner members on Sun City West. As alluded to and as mentioned in Madam President's report, we've returned after 2 years to our twice annual Torch Academy. The spring session was fully enrolled, and we graduated 49 enthusiastic residents with a much improved understanding of Sun City West, its makeup, and services available to each resident in the community. The fall session is now fully enrolled with a waiting list. In the last few months, we have completed and set the session agendas for the Fall Academy. The Torch Committee would like to thank the Governing Board, Sun City West Rec staff, with special thanks to Katie O'Grady for her great support, and community organizations that continue to support and involve themselves in the Torch Academy. Your efforts allow the Torch Academy to provide a unique educational opportunity to residents of our community and promote the volunteerism that is key to providing a great experience to all our residents. And that's my report.
Thank you. Next is the Arts and Design Special Committee, Chairperson Richard Tonabene.
The Arts and Design Committee is a special committee. Is this thing on? Okay. Which requires reauthorizations on an annualized basis. This year, the Arts and Design Committee went through a leadership transition. I took over for the prior chairman. I don't know if I took over or was volunteered or drafted. I'm not sure. We also had to go through a definition of the acquisition process for the various artworks, also a definition of the financial payment process. Additionally, the team dealt with the following limitation. We had to establish limitations concerning installations of the artwork and what we were to do, process for the identification and documentation of proposed artwork, art installation requirements and contracts, and we also had to go through and identify the spending authorization process. After numerous meetings, sidebar conversations, the processes were all defined and implemented. The art committee came up with 4 presentations, four pieces of art to be presented to the committees, and that were approved by the governing board. This was the aluminum painting, the Lizard Acres quilt, the Van Gogh, and a serving table for the Coons Art, or the Coons Rec Center. The team did a great work, oftentimes under confusing circumstances, and I'd like to really thank the entire committee.
Okay, thank you. The next committee is the Governing Board Election Special Committee. And Marshall Adams, who chaired that committee, was not able to be here, so I will read his presentation. A special thank you goes to our committee members who worked through the election year starting in September of 2021. They took our task very seriously. We worked hard to separate our task from the normal board committee process and did not work under the board committee structure. Our committee consisted of Luann Kent, Al Glassmeyer, Merle Schwebke, Max Thompson, and Leslie Young. The committee began by reviewing responsibilities and goals. The Governing Board Executive Assistant Karen Repkin did an excellent job of keeping us on the right track and making sure we stayed on schedule throughout the process. Our committee reviewed the several deadlines we had to meet and planned for the events. Karen prepared candidate packets that were available to those interested in running for the board positions. When the packets became available, we had 13 people take out packets, which required 200 signatures from each candidate to become eligible to run. 7 candidates returned packets with the signatures, which were verified. All 7 candidates then attended an orientation session developed by our committee. Roles and responsibilities of board members were discussed, as well as campaigning policies and procedures. Our committee was then split with 3 people taking the responsibility of the forum and 3 other people taking the meet and greet activities. Our next goal was to develop questions to be asked of the candidates at the forum. The committee met in closed session to develop a list of questions, and the final list was developed by the committee in charge of the forum. At the forum, guests were asked to submit questions. The attendance at the meet and greet was greater than the forum, and people were able to meet the candidates on a much more information manner. This was a successful evening. The committee reviewed the process of working with our vendor during the election process with IT. A thank you goes to IT for their part in the process. Ultimately, we had 4,275 votes online and 124 on-site votes. Results were announced soon after the on-site voting was completed. Our committee owes Karen Repkin a big thank you for her work during this process. She did a great deal of the work on organizing and developing materials and information for the committee. Without her guidance, our committee would not have been able to fulfill our responsibilities. Marshall Adams, Chairperson. Okay, that ends the EOYs. Do you have a motion, Lisa?
I do. Thank you, President Fitzsimons. I move to accept the June 2022 end-of-year reports as filed information.
If there are no objections, do I see any objections? Okay, then they will be accepted and filed as information. The next item of business is a facts and findings, and for that I will turn to our treasurer, Ann Brown.
Thank you, President Fitzsimons. I move that the governing board approve the expenditure for each project or expense in the amount shown as listed or approved within the operational budget, and authorize the general manager to sign the contract, purchase order, and/or check for each project or expense. I believe these are on the screen right now. These have all been studied through Budget and Finance Committee, many of them through Properties Committee and Golf Committee, and also by the governing board. Are there any questions concerning this motion?
First, do we have a second?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Donna Maloney has provided a second. Okay,
Thank you, Donna.
And you've provided some background. Is there any discussion from the board? Okay, are we ready for a vote then? Any questions from the audience? Okay, ready for a vote? Harry?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
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 Ann?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. The next item of business is the goals attainment. As you can see, we had 4 goals that we were working on, and we have concluded most of them. The master plan has yet to be implemented, so I guess that's why we still have a little bit of work to go with that, to go on that goal. And we're glad the last goal kind of picked up here with being able to clearly hear both Ann and Sharon remotely. We struggled with that partway through, but I think that has gone well. Okay. Next item of business is board service recognitions. And for that, I'm going to turn this over to President-elect Tim Hurley.
Is it still morning? Good morning, everybody. The first recognition award is a man that I've had the pleasure to work with on the board for 4 years, 3 as we were all elected together, and another one in this last appointed year, and that is Jim Sloan. He's not here. He hasn't called in, so I'm going to not even tell you all the bad stuff. But Jim has been a steady influence throughout the 4 years that I've known him. He's been a good friend and a good board member, good president. And we have this platform that will recognize our appreciation of him serving for the board for another year on an appointed basis. So Thank you, Jim. All right, the second one, there's an adage for anybody that's been in an organization that, and I'm going to try to be polite here, but doo-doo flows downhill, right? You can put in whatever adjective you want. In this case, being the president of the governing board, it doesn't flow downhill, it flows uphill. And I tell you what, our president, Sue Fitzsimon, has handled the responsibilities with grace and with a character that I'm just a pleasure to be around. So Sue, thank you for your 4 years of service to the board. Thank you especially for your 1 year of service as the president. And I know I'm probably got bigger feet than your shoes, but it will be good to step into your shoes.
So thank you very much, Tim. I don't know how many more words we want to hear, but I just want to thank the Sun City West residents for the privilege of representing you on the board for the last 4 years. I'm getting teary. I hope I've made a positive contribution in the years that I've been in the position. So I thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda are any board director comments, and let's start with with you, Sharon, the remote people, so I don't forget to include you. Do you have any director comments before the end of the meeting?
No,
Sharon?
thank you.
No, thank you?
Good, thank you. I don't have any comments.
Okay, all right. Anne, how about you?
Really nothing else to say other than, Sue, I thank you so much for the leadership you have provided over this last year, and also to Jim for all he has done. And I just want to thank my fellow board members for this year. We've had some rough patches, but I think we've all learned that we can work together, and I appreciate my fellow board members and especially the staff that we have. They're all wonderful to work with. Thank you so much.
Okay. Harry?
No comments.
Vice President Donna? No comment. Roberta?
No comment.
Secretary Lisa?
I'll just echo what Ann Brown said. Thank you, Sue.
President-elect?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I'll have some comments after the next section. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right. Are there any resident comments? Seeing none, they're all talked out and they're tired of sitting here. Okay, at this point, I'll be handing over the gavel, and Tim Hurley will be conducting some items of business.
Where's the photographer? No pictures? Come on. I was waiting.
Here you go.
Now I have real power. I tell you what, this was a great annual meeting. I've been to 6 of them so far, and I tell you what, I think this is one of the better meetings of explanation of what goes on in Sun City West and how your money gets spent. So I appreciate Mr. Schwinn, whoever he is. There he is over there. Thank you very much. I look forward to next year because I think we're at the point, a turning point with the community and with the board, and I'm really looking forward to doing some good things next year. And let me just explain. This is really kind of awkward. I wanted to announce my leadership board, my vice president, chairman, or secretary and treasurer, but they're not here. And I hope that doesn't bode bad for next year. But hopefully we'll all be here, we'll all be contributing too. So Ann Brown, who you heard on the phone, is going to be the vice president next year. And Dick Rhodes, who is a newly elected board director, will be our treasurer for next year. And Jack Leary, also a newly elected director, will be the secretary for next year. So, never had a male secretary before, but we'll see how that goes. Okay. The board uses committees to help it do its work. And the board has 5 standing committees that you saw them earlier: golf, BNF, the sports pavilion, properties, and chartered clubs. And those act as the conduit to and from the residents. They're made up of residents, owner members, and it's their responsibility to act as liaisons between the membership and the board, and backwards that way too. And so their job is important, and basically what they do is they make recommendations to the board in their specific areas of topic, and they make recommendations to the board. If the general manager wants to raise fees, they review the fees, they make a recommendation to the board to approve it or disapprove it, and so they're a very important link. So we've got those 5 standing committees, and we also have a couple other special committees, and these are committees that are chartered on a short term. They're usually renewed every year, and we have 2 of those: Torch, which you heard the report from earlier, and Elections. Okay, Bob Wilson, who you heard earlier, will continue as the chairman for the Torch Committee. The Election Committee has a chairman hasn't been decided yet, but we have a ways to go before we need to get into election issues. The Arts and Design Committee, let me just say a few words about that, because this was kind of a experimental committee that was championed by our president. And the idea was that we have a lot of very talented people throughout the whole organization. And there was a desire to use some of that talent to kind of add some artsy stuff to our community. And as you heard, there were a couple of projects that came through and that were are designed to add splashes of color here, or maybe a artistic design there, something like that, just to kind of judge up the community. And it's also about displaying artwork in various places around the community that people can look and just get an appreciation for how much talent we actually do have here. Now that the committee has some traction and that they've actually have brought some projects to the forefront, it's time to turn that committee over to, rather than being a piecemeal, let's add something here, let's add something there, to bring it into the operations side of the business, so that during construction projects or during upgrade projects, there can be owner-member consultation and input to say, if you're going to paint this, how about doing this right here, or how about doing this here? Actually bring it into the process rather than having an add-on committee that at the end just says, hey, there's a swimming pool, let's put a wave there. So I think that's a good situation, because it's a great idea to add a little color and a little jazz and a little artistic touch around various places. And the general manager has agreed that this is where it should be, and hopefully it'll be incorporated in the process and go along with that. So that's what's going to happen to Arts and Design. It will not be a board committee, it will be an operations work group, okay? I'm looking forward to working with the new board next year, and this makes me really sad, but I want to introduce Donna Maloney.
Incoming president. I regret that I need to say this, but please accept my resignation from the governing board effective July 1st, 2022. My current chemo treatment for the diagnosis of invasive breast cancer is unfortunately affecting my ability to perform. Governing Board Executive Assistant general manager, and staff, down to facility leads, have always been respectful, helped me to understand, and when possible, acted regarding any questions, comments, or concerns I presented. The last 3 years have been challenging, yet very rewarding. Thank you, everyone.
That concludes our meeting. The next governing board workshop will be September 9th, 2022. And the workshop and then the meeting. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Donna, thank you. We'll miss you very much. Me in particular. Good luck.
We wish you the best. Next workshop, September 9th, and the regular board meeting will be September 22nd. Thank you for coming. The meeting's adjourned.